Chinese Cindrella by Adeline in Ma, Chapter 10. Shanghai School Days. Of all the girls in my class at Shengzi, Wu Qimei was the most athletic. She came from one of Shanghai's wealthiest merchant families and lived in an imposing mansion near the French Club, which I passed daily on my way to and from school. Her father had spurned commerce for medicine and attended medical school in the United States, where Chunmei was born. Her mother was a well known artist and book illustrator. Being an only daughter, Chunmei was privileged in many ways. I first noticed Wu Chunmei when we played shuttlecock against each other one day during recess. A shuttlecock was a rounded piece of cork with feathers stuck on top. When the shuttlecock was hit to and fro with a racket across a net, the game was called badminton. At Shenzhen, we sometimes used the shuttlecock to play a different game. We would kick it up and down and add up the number of kicks made without interruption. The girl with the highest number of kicks was the winner. I had always considered myself a skillful player, but my first game against Wu Chin Mei turned into an exhibition featuring my opponent's talent. Unlike the rest of us, who counted ourselves pretty lucky if we could kick the shuttlecock 15 times in a row, Wu Chun Mei could go on indefinitely. While kicking the shuttlecock frontways, sideways, and behind her, she could also clap her hands, twist her legs, and even turn her body all the way around her. In due course, I became more and more impressed by Wu Chun Mei's athletic skills. She had strength, agility, coordination, and amazing prowess at all types of physical games, especially ping pong, badminton, and volleyball. Best of all, she possessed a single minded fierceness, a fearless loyalty towards her teammates. Like me, she also loved to read. Unlike me, she was able to bring to school an incredible variety of children's books, many translated from foreign languages, which she generously lent to everyone. One morning, on her way to school in her father's chauffeur driven car, she saw me plodding along carrying my heavy school bag. She asked her driver to stop and offered me a lift. Though sorely tempted, I had no choice but to refuse, saying with a laugh that I enjoyed walking. Chu Mei made nothing of it until 2 weeks later. It had been raining very hard and the streets were flooded. There were typhoon warnings and school had been let out early. Many of the girls were stranded, waiting to be picked up by their families. Chun Mei had phoned her father, who came at once in his car to fetch her. On their way home, they saw me sloshing through ankle-deep water. Wu Chun Mei stopped the car and rolled down the window. Who's this lone small figure struggling along deserted Avenue Joffrey, braving the elements? Her father asked. How about a ride? No, no, thank you, I began desperately, clutching my school bag with one hand and an umbrella with the other. It's fun to walk in a big storm like this. As I spoke, a gust of wind almost lifted me off the pavement. My umbrella turned inside out and I was blown sideways against a lamppost. Dr. Wu got out of his car and stood in the pouring rain, looking almost angry. Don't you know it's dangerous to walk in weather like this? He asked. Then he bundled me into the back seat. I was drenched from head to toe. The water in my shoes made a puddle on the car mat. Rivulets of water dripped from my hair, which was plastered against my head. I had no raincoat. My uniform stuck to me and I was shivering. I knew I looked awful but felt I must keep up appearances. So I smiled and spoke of the storm as if it were a great adventure. At the entrance of my lane, I insisted on getting out and walking to my house because I was terrified of getting into trouble for having accepted a lift. I simply could not run the risk of having Niang see me being driven to the front door in a car. They must have thought I was mad when I stepped back into the storm. Wu Chun Mei and I became friends and partnered each other when we played doubles in ping pong or badminton. She lent me her books and I helped her with arithmetic. Though Chun Mei excelled in English and spoke it without an accent, she was hopeless at maths and often came under the teacher's fire. Though her chauffeured car invariably awaited her when school finished, she often chose to walk with me until we reached her house, with her driver trailing behind at a snail's pace. In the morning, if she happened upon me trudging along, she would order her driver to stop and would hop out and accompany me all the way. In August 1945, when I was almost 8 years old, America dropped the atom bomb on Japan. This ended the Second World War. America was the new conqueror. At school, we were given surplus sea rations for our lunch, left by China's new heroes, the US Marines. We ate hard biscuits, canned meat, and chunks of bittersweet chocolate. After each meal, we prayed and thanked our American allies for winning the war. Hollywood movies swept into Shanghai like a tidal wave. There was a craze for everything American. One day in September 1945, all the children in my school were bussed to the Bund to welcome the American soldiers. Along with my schoolmates, I cheered, waved welcoming flags, criticized, and presented bouquets. American minesweepers, cruisers, and flagships clogged the muddy waters of the Hongpu River. Hotels and office buildings on the Bund were taken over by the US Navy and other American servicemen. Photographs of American movie stars adorned billboards and magazine covers. Clark Gable, Vivian Leigh, Lana Turner, and Errol Flynn became household names. Their popularity soared. One schoolmate 2 years ahead of us in form, 5 actually received an autographed photo from Clark Gable sent all the way to Shanghai from Hollywood, California. She was surrounded by half of the school addresses. We were born on a frenzy of excitement at the sight of the picture of the handsome actor, each of us clamoring to hold him in our hands and gaze into his dreamy eyes, even if just for a few seconds. About then, Wu Chenmei lent me a book titled A Little Princess, translated from English into Chinese. She told me it was one of her favorites and had been written by an English author named Frances Hodgson Burnett. This fairy tale of 7-year-old motherless Sarah Crewe, who started life as an heiress, turned overnight into a penniless servant girl, and eventually changed her life through her own efforts, gripped my imagination as no other book had ever done before. I read it again and again, suffered Sarah's humiliation, cried over her despair, mourned the loss of her father, and savored her final triumph. I kept it so long that Wu Chunmei became impatient and demanded its return. Coming from a secure and happy home, Wu Chunmei could not grasp the impact this message of hope had upon me. For the first time, I realized that adults could be wrong in their judgment of a child. If I tried hard enough to become a princess inside, like Sarah Crewe, perhaps I too might one day reverse everyone's poor opinion of me. Reluctant to relinquish my newfound treasure, I begged to keep it for another 2 weeks. Laboriously and doggedly, I copied the book word for word into 2 exercise books during this grace period, committed parts of it to memory, and slept with it under my pillow until the manuscript became tattered. Though Wu Chunmei and I spent numerous school hours together, not once did I mention my family or hint at the presence of a stepmother. In many ways, I envied my friend. As much as possible, in front of her, I pretended that I had loving parents too. It was simply too painful to admit the truth because then the dream would vanish forever. During the spring term of 1946, when I was 8 years old and in the 3rd grade, father took Niang, big sister, 4th brother, and little sister north to reclaim his Tianjin properties. They stayed away for 3 months. It was a glorious spring and early summer. Though outwardly everything remained the same while my parents were away, in reality nothing was the same. The 4 of us left behind stepped back through time into a cheerful, buoyant, and light-hearted era that we had almost forgotten. My 2 oldest brothers started staying late after school to play with their friends. They refused to submit any more to having their heads shaved, insisting on crew cuts as a compromise. They raided the refrigerator at will and ate whatever they fancied. They started taking an interest in girls whistling after pretty ones the way the American boys did in Hollywood movies. One Sunday morning at breakfast, Big Brother pushed aside his usual kanji and preserved vegetables and told the maid his palate needed a change. Seeing it's Sunday and how about a nice hard-boiled salted duck egg, the maid suggested. What does Sunday have to do with anything? I am tired of preserved vegetables and salted duck eggs. Bring me a big omelette made with lots of chicken eggs. Put some ham in it. That's what I feel like eating. Young master, you know that chicken eggs are not allowed. Cook has orders from above. You will get us all in trouble. If you are too cowardly to talk to cook, I'll tackle the brute myself. Big Brother sprang up and stomped into the kitchen, relishing his new role as young master of the house in the absence of father. He ordered cook to make him the biggest omelette of his life, with loads of ham and plenty of scallions. A battle ensued. We have specific instructions from your mother that chicken eggs are intended only for those on the first floor, announced Cook haughtily, his whole posture oozing righteous indignation. Besides, there are not enough eggs on hand to make such an omelette as you have in mind. Not enough eggs? Challenged Big Brother. We shall see about that. He started a systematic search, beginning with the refrigerator and ending in the larder, retrieving every egg he could find. He then methodically broke them one by one into a giant bowl. Meanwhile, offended by Big Brother's trespass into his domain and violation of his orders from above, Cook was saying frostily, I will have to report this egg hunt of yours, just as I am going to mention to your parents about your airmail letters. He was referring to messages sent to two pretty girls who lived immediately behind us. Their third floor bedroom window faced the rear window of my brother's room, separated only by an alleyway. The boys amused themselves by wrapping scribbled notes around hard candies, then using rubber band slings to catapult them across. The day before, an errant missile had unfortunately landed on the bald head of our neighbor's cook, who had rushed over to our house to complain loudly to his counterpart. Chagrined but defiant, Big Brother blithely whipped up all the eggs, added ham and scallions, and made himself a king-size 18-egg omelette. You can inform on me all you want, but first I am going to treat myself to a decent breakfast for once, whether they approve or not. As for your buddy, the thump to his head will probably stimulate his conch to sprout a full head of hair again. He should thank me for doing him the favor. With that, he sailed into the dining room with his omelette and emptied his plate with relish. Aunt Baba, who had been working full time as a bank teller, felt freer during his period to spend most evenings and weekends after work playing with mahjong with her friends. AA grew close to third brother and me and often escorted the two of us to picnics at Dume Gardens, a public park on tram stop from home. Cook would prepare wonderful sandwiches for us, thick layers of eggs flavored with mushrooms and ham, pocketed into loaves of fresh, crusty French baguettes. I used to chase third brother along the winding paths of the meticulously manicured arbor, hide behind giant sycamore trees, and roll across the lush green lawn, which spread out as far as my eyes could see. Feeling happy and relaxed, I would watch third brother imitating Yi in his Tai Chi exercises, stand on tiptoe and crane my neck to catch a glimpse of famous players competing in Chinese chess, and listen to professional storytellers spinning yarns about kung fu heroes. Sometimes, if we were lucky, a band would be playing music from the domed pavilion in the center of the park. We would play for hours pretending to be well known characters from Chinese folklore, taking turns as the hero or villain. When third brother was away from our two oldest brothers and big sister, he seemed to turn into a different person. I like you much better when I play only with you, I confided one day. You don't order me around or make me the bad person all the time when we play three countries war. You are fair while the others despise me. It all stems from our mama dying when you were born. Big sister and our two older brothers knew her better than I did. I only remember her a little. Things were much nicer when she was alive. You made her go away. We all live in our big house and it's full of people, but it's a lonely place, I said. I can't wait to grow up and get away. I'll take Yeye and Aunt Baba with me. You can come too if you like. It's not only Niang. Big sister and second brother are always picking on me too. They hate it when I lead my class and father praises me. Then they are especially mean. They think I don't know, but I do. It's pretty bad for me too, sharing a room with our two big brothers. When things don't go well, they take it out on me. Big brother yells at me and second brother beats me up and grabs my stuff. How were things different when our own mama was still alive? Do you sometimes think of her too? Of course, when she was with us, everything was just nicer. And I remember feeling safe all the time. Wouldn't it be splendid if we could go visit her where she is now? Away from our real home where I have to be careful not to say the wrong thing. But we can go visit her, I said. All you have to do is close your eyes and imagine it. I have seen a place before. It is so real. I find it hard to tell whether I saw it or dreamt it. She lives in a magic garden high up in the clouds. Nothing in Shanghai can compare. It's full of trees, flowers, rocks, and birds. All children are welcome. If no one knows about her place and we keep it a secret, then they can never find us. I wrote it all down once and showed it to Big Sister. I asked her what her mama looked like because I couldn't picture her face. Big Sister said she didn't remember. Big Sister? How can you confide your real feelings to Big Sister? How stupid you are. If you want to know about her mama, why don't you ask Aunt Baba? As for Big Sister, don't trust her. Don't trust anyone. Be a cold fish, just like me. Never get involved. That's my motto. I hurt no one, and no one can hurt me. I thought over his advice. That evening, I broached the subject with my aunt. Tell me what my real mama looked like. I have this key in my head which enables me to enter the secret kingdom where she lives. But I would like to see her photograph. I can't picture her face. Your father has instructed me not to talk to you children about your dead mama. It seemed hard for Aunt Baba to utter the words, your dead mother. But I suppose you are old enough now to understand. There are no photographs of her. Shortly after your grandmother's funeral 3 years ago, your father ordered all your mother's photographs destroyed. A week later, Shanghai was gripped by a relentless, blistering heat wave. Finally, Sunday came and there was no school. Yeye and Aunt Baba had gone to the Buddhist temple. It was early afternoon and a heavy drowsiness shrouded the entire house. I had just completed my homework and was rereading my latest report card while relaxing on my bed under the mosquito net. Though the windows were open, there was no breeze. I was recalling the excitement in my classroom 2 days before when the midterm exam grades were read out. My classmates sat in rapt attention as teacher Lynn rustled some papers and looked for her glass. I relived the triumph of hearing teacher Lynn announce Yen Jungling, my name outside the family, has led the class again in every subject except art. I commend her for her hard work. Earlier this year, the school submitted one of her compositions to the children's writing competition held by the Shanghai Newspaper Association. I am glad to report that she has won first prize for her age group among all the primary school students in Shanghai. Yen Jingling has brought recognition to our Shenzhen school. Amidst loud clapping and admiration of my peers, I stepped forward to shake hands with teacher Lena. She handed me a special gold star to paste on my report card, as well as a copy of the newspaper in which my composition had been published. To everyone's surprise and my delight, my ping pong partner Wu Chin Mei received two special prizes, a medal for being the outstanding athlete of the whole school and a certificate for showing the most improvement in arithmetic. Wu Chun Mei blushed with pleasure when teacher Lin pinned the medal on a uniform. I whispered champion and patted her on the back when she returned to her seat. How wonderful life is at this moment, I thought as I fanned myself and wriggled my toes. With father and Niang gone, the whole house seemed relaxed and carefree. If only it weren't so hot. I was scanning the other children's winning entries in the newspaper when the maid came in and announced, your brothers want you to go downstairs and play with them in the dining room. They have a treat for you. It was dizzy with excitement as I crawled out from under my mosquito net and slipped on my shoes. Are all three of my brothers playing in the dining room? Is third brother down there too? Yes, they are all there. How mysterious and delightful, my three brothers beckoning me to join them. I ran downstairs eagerly, taking the steps two at a time, then sliding down the banister from the first floor to the ground floor. I burst in panting for breath. They had been drinking orange juice and put their glasses down when I entered. On the dining table was a large jug of juice and 4 glasses. 3 were empty and 1 was full. What a hot day, second brother began, bubbling with laughter. I see you're sweating. We thought you would like a glass of juice to cool you down. Here, this one's for you. Something in his manner caused me to hesitate. To be summoned by second brother out of the blue and be treated so royal was such cause for suspicion. Why are you so nice to me all of a sudden? I asked. At this, he took offense. Moving closer, he jostled me. It's because you are again top of your class. In addition, you won the writing competition held by the Shanghai Newspaper Association. Seeing father isn't here, we decided to reward you ourselves. I don't want it, I cried as I pushed the glass away. We even put ice in it. You will cool down at once. He picked up the glass and the ice cubes tinkled. A film of moisture had condensed on the glass's surface. Tempted, I turned to Big Brother. Did you make it specially for me? We mixed it from this bottle of orange concentrate here. This is your prize for being top of your class. Custom made, just for you. My three brothers could hardly contain themselves with suppressed merriment. I could feel the humid, oppressive heat sweeping through the walls. I eyed the cool glass of juice with its ice cubes rapidly melting in a shaft of sunlight slanting across the table. I lifted the glass and turned to third brother. My Ali, knowing that he would never fail me. Can I drink this? I asked, confident he could be relied on. Of course, congratulations. We are proud of you. Convinced, I took a generous sip of the ice cold drink. The disgusting smell of urine hit me like a mighty blow. My brothers had mixed the urine with the juice. Through the mirror hanging on the wall, I could see them rolling on the floor with hysterical laughter. I ran upstairs to the bathroom to wash out my mouth, knowing I had been duped. Sweat poured down my face and mingled with my tears as I sobbed quietly into the sink. In the suffocating heat, I was shivering. Meanwhile, my brothers had already forgotten all about me. I could hear them in the garden playing with Jackie and kicking a ball against the wall. Pong, 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 oof, oof. The raucous sound of their laughter came drifting up through the window. Why was I crying? Surely. I was insured by now to their malice. What was it that really bothered me? The treachery and betrayal of my trust? No, not quite. It was more complicated. Did third brother truly understand what he was up against? By wanting to have things both ways and straddling the fence, was he aware that each compromise would chip away at his integrity? Yes, it was the loss of the nicest part of third brother that saddened me. Next morning, on my way to school, Uchunmi came out of her garden as soon as she saw me. She challenged me to a numbers game played with our fingers as we walked along, trailed as usual by a chauffeured car. At a red light, an American jeep stopped beside us. Two tall, blonde US sailors in smart, sharply creased white uniforms shouted out in English, "Little girls, do you know how to get to Avenue Joffrey?" I said nothing because my English was poor and I was shy. But Wu Chun Mei answered in a best American English. Actually, you are an American Joffrey, Avenue Joffrey. It's a very long street that goes on and on. They were delighted and astonished. Gee, thanks, they said. One of them added, "Here, you too, take this," and he handed Wu Chun Mei a large basket of luscious red parmesans. During recess, we examined our windfall and shared the fruit among our friends. Though my classmates often brought snacks, I never dared accept because I knew I could never reciprocate in kind. This time, however, things were different. Half the fruit had been given to me. Though bright red and perfectly formed, the parmesans felt hard and unripe. Maybe we should keep them in our desks and let them ripen before we eat them, I advised. Raw parmesans are so puckery on the tongue. You're too cautious, Wu Chun Mei said. There are two types of parmesans. The feu parmesan is supposed to be eaten when it's like this. They are crispy and sweet, just like apples. All right, Lin Tao said. You take the first bite, Wu Chun Mei. Wu Chun Mei took a big bite. Delicious, she explained, just as I thought. Reassured, we each bit into our fruit, only to pucker up in total disgust. Wu Chun Mei looked so impish and mischievous that we soon all burst out laughing. During English class later that afternoon, we had a special advisor. An impressive looking middle aged American officer came in uniform to give us a talk on Pearl Harbor. He was a chain smoker and our whole class was fascinated as we watched him. While his sentences were being translated by our English teacher, he would take a deep drag on a cigarette and after an interval let the smoke slowly escape from his nostrils. At the end of his speech, we clapped politely. He then asked if there were any questions. There was a pause. Surely, he coaxed. One of you young ladies must be curious about something. He took another drag on a cigarette. We stared at the tendrils of smoke coming out of his nose. Finally, after another embarrassing lull, Wu Chun Mei raised her hand. Now, here is a brave young girl, he exclaimed. What is your question, my dear? I hope you don't mind, Wu Chun Mei asked in a flawless English. But can you make the smoke come out of your ears too? Thank you.